All right. Let's see. Where are we at? We're going to do this, turn this thing into a video, so we're not starting yet. All right. So, Eric, I've been doing a lot of thinking on this, and this is what I want to see the Giants do this offseason. I want to see Farhan do something different and actually learn from his mistakes. Hey, we all make mistakes, right?
That happens.
And the key is you learn from your mistakes. And if you can learn from your mistakes, then your mistakes are valuable lessons. So Farhan, in his 5 years with the Giants, he started at the end of 18. All he's done, for the most part, is fill in little holes of guys that were not ready for primetime players. You know, at the time it was Connor Joe and what was the guy's name?
Michael Reed.
Michael Reed. Opening day.
The two guys they threw on Bochy right before.
Yeah, throws him right on Bochy at the end of the spring training, right before, and he's like, hadn't even seen him in camp, and he's got to start him at Dodger Stadium day one. And so that was 18 for the 19 season. And then he got Yaz, and then he got Yaz in that offseason, and that was like, that was his found, we got Yaz. The guy is an unknown who was, obscured, stuck in the minor leagues in the Orioles organization. And he comes of age, and he's like this amazing guy, they're going to build around. So then they got the shortened 2020 season. Buster opts out. He gets was that the year he got he got Gosman that year.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
So Gosman pitched pretty well, and that was his big signing. Yaz had a good year, and then they bring back in 21. It's really, he got Tyro Estrada, which turned out to be a pretty good ball player. He got Darren Ruff. He got Flores. He got some okay guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't got anybody that, is like, oh my goodness, we got ourselves an everyday, rock solid.
A long-term giant.
Yeah, a real type all-star. And then 22, they have the lockout. And as soon as the lockout is over, he signs Carlos Rodon. He actually did something right away.
Yep, he did.
And that was a great signing. But then what did he do, Farhan, is they're basically out of it at the trade deadline. They're falling on their faces to open the second half of the season on a 6, 7, 8 game losing streak, if I recall.
Yep.
And then they got the trade deadline, and they got a 4-game series with the Dodgers. And they had no shortstop. Crawford's out. They had Dixon Machado in to fill in. And it was like, you're going to get swept. Just trade Rodon. You're going to get swept. You don't have a shot at anything.
And we knew he was going to opt out because he was having a great year.
We knew he was going to opt out. And the danger was that you keep him and he hurts his arm in September, and now you're stuck with him for next year and he can't pitch.
Right.
And he's got $22 million.
Yep.
So Farhan, again, he doesn't get aggressive and make some actual bold moves. I want to see bold moves. Even if the bold move is something that's controversial. Like Brian Sabian made a bold move. His first started off and he trades Matt Williams, a homegrown all-star, borderline MVP caliber player. And he trades Matt Williams for Jeff Kent and a couple other guys that were in the deal that I should remember. Was Mike Jackson in that deal?
I can't remember.
Anyway, it was a great deal. It was a great trade. Helped the Giants win not only the division in 97, almost made the playoffs in 98, 2000 won the division, 02, Jeff Kent, like MVP, World Series. It was wonderful. Farhan, just make some bold moves, okay? That means sometimes you got to trade some people to get some people. So here's what I would do if I'm Farhan. GM meetings start here in a couple days in Scottsdale, Arizona, right in my backyard. And what I would do is I would make some big contacts and maybe even make some moves. I mean, Scott Harris just made a move today, getting Mark Canha from Milwaukee in a trade. Scott Harris, now we know, was the more aggressive of the two when he's with the Giants. He's the one that was responsible for getting Chris Bryant to the Giants at the last minute of the trade deadline. Farhan cannot pull the dang trigger. He just can't. He sits and sits and sits. Last year, he sat on waiting for Aaron Judge and waiting and waiting and waiting, did nothing with the market instead of just going out and giving Aaron Judge a deadline and saying, okay, here's our offer. You have 5 days or 3 days or whatever it is to accept. If you're going to shop us, we're going to pull our offer on this date. That's it. We're not messing around. We want you. Here's our offer, but we're not going to be pulled around.
He had to have known that Yankees are going to be in hard. So yeah, he should have, agreed.
Yeah. And so he waited, and then the night before Judge actually made his decision, he signed Mitch Haniger. And, the thought was, the right thinking was like, oh, this is just, they're not getting Judge. And many people said, oh, this is an addition to Judge. Yeah, right. Okay. So Trey Turner signs early. Bogarts down in San Diego then signed. He could have went out.
Swanson was still out there, I think.
Yeah, Swanson was still out there. He could have, and then he goes for Correa. He makes the big splash for Correa and then pulls back. Could have just paid Swanson, who I thought really was the better move over Bogarts anyway. But so this year, this is what I would like to see him do. Make some bold trades, but I don't know when the posting date is for
Yamamoto
in Japan and how do you say his name?
Young Loo Hee or
Young Loo something. Yeah. The 25-year-old center fielder in Korea. MVP over there. He's got speed, can hit gap to gap, play center field really well. Get those guys immediately. And then if we look at the free agent list, the free agent list out there consists of
nobody that the Giants are going to get.
I mean, it doesn't look like a bunch of names that they will get, but I was trying to see who the top names were out there. I mean, obviously Shohei, but you know what? You're
Blake
not going
to Josh Hader.
Yeah, you're not getting you have a shot at Snell. I mean, what I would do if you really, really wanted to compete is you could do it with 3 signings. You could go sign Yamamoto, the kid from Korea, and Blake Snell. Now you've got a four-headed monster pitching staff. You got from the right side Yamamoto and Webb, and from the left side you'd have Harrison and Snell. And then
that would be formidable.
That's a very formidable staff. That's what I would love to see him do. Spend that money there. I don't see spending money on Ohtani as a viable option. I really don't. I mean, Ohtani, if you got him, great. Well, you better have a bunch of other stuff behind you because
that's the issue. Yep.
And I would go sign Rhys Hoskins too, or trade for Pete Alonso. And I don't know what it would take to get Pete Alonso.
Because he's got one more year right before he hits free agency.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if I even, to be honest, I don't know how much more Pete Alonso's worth than Rhys Hoskins when it comes right down to it. Alonso strikes out a lot.
He does.
Cody Bellinger would be a great guy to get, but I don't think Cody Bellinger is going to want to play in this park.
No way. And his price tag is going to be astronomical as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits the 300 million level.
Yeah. Matt Chapman, I see would be another. He was in my original thought. My original thought was, look, go get Matt Chapman, put him at third, play Casey Schmidt at short, and put Luciano in the outfield. Put him in right field. He's a shortstop. He should be able to learn how to catch a fly ball in the outfield
Right.
and run. And right field's a good spot for him. He's kind of tall. I don't know how. I mean, Corey Seager's what, 6'4"?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's big.
So Corey Seager's one of the guys that's played shortstop as a taller shortstop and has done relatively well. Luciano's only like 6'2", so he could be fine. But if you really want to get, really good defense, which is super important, I think Schmidt might be a better shortstop than Luciano defensively, and we know Chapman's a great third baseman. So why not get great defense and then get Estrada at second, Hoskins at first base, Luciano in right field, in center field, the kid from Korea, and left field.
Give it to Ramos.
I'd look at Ramos and Matos and see which one, wins the job. And as far as Slater and Yaz, you know what? I'm moving on. And if maybe Yaz wants to be a guy that can fill in as a fifth outfielder, fifth outfielder, and occasionally pinch hit, you know what? He's solid player. He's not expensive, but I'm not building my team around Yaz and Slater anymore. I'm just not.
That ship has sailed.
Give me players that can play every day, no matter who's hitting. And I know Rhys Hoskins can do that. He's local from Sacramento. Yep. Estrada can do it for the most part, but you got to have some good backups. You'd have my back. I'd trade JD Davis. Why would I trade JD Davis? Because he's got some value and he's going to be a free agent after next year.
Mm-hmm.
I said you should have traded JD Davis last year
at the trade deadline,
before the trade deadline, even because he was hot up until about July.
Right,
started cooling off. But I thought, year and a half control, people would like a guy like JD Davis. He's a good clubhouse guy, good bat, pretty good glove, but he's slow. And I'm tired of slow guys. I really am. I mean, Flores is so slow, it's unbelievable. But he can rake. He can hit. So you live with it. Flores can play you some backup first base. He can play you some backup third base. He's a DH. Flores, valuable guy. But let's get some speed on this roster. Let's get a little bit of power.
Fortify the defense.
Yeah, defense is critical. It's absolutely critical they get solid defense.
Look at the defense that was in the World Series. Whew.
Yeah.
Except for Alec Thomas there in game 5. Whoops.
Well, he made a blunder there. He looked up real quick.
For the most part, all the defense was fantastic in the World Series.
Yeah. Who drafted Corey Seager? Somebody asked here, and it was Ned Colletti.
Ned Colletti, correct.
Yep, Ned Colletti. So, yeah, this is where I want to see the Giants go. I think when I talk about first base, I do like Alonso and Rhys Hoskins. But the reason I said Rhys Hoskins, I don't think is a whole lot different than Alonso. Alonso's 1 year and he's going to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost money it's going to cost a good prospect or two to trade for him, and if you got a relatively similar person who doesn't cost you any prospects, all they do is cost you some money, go get Rhys Hoskins. He plays a good first base. He's coming off of an ACL. He should be fine. And
here's a question I want to pose to you, Dan. And we saw some of these rookies in the playoffs and in the World Series. After seeing how some of these rookies performed, do the Giants have any kind of rookie that's even on the doorstep of what those rookies can produce? or
Um,
not so much?
I would say no, but I
So
would
what I'm
say
saying,
uh,
no one should be untouchable then to be able to trade if you're going to get a
no,
really good player.
no one's untouchable. The only untouchable is probably Patrick Bailey, and that's because
Right.
of his defense,
Right.
not his offense. Casey Schmidt to me is the next guy in line to make a jump. The reason I say Casey Schmidt is going to be good is I see all the tools there. I see the attitude. I see the ball player in him. He's not lightning fast as a runner, but he's
He's smart on the bases.
smart at the base, but he's got sneaky speed, I would
Yeah.
say. He's not slow. Okay. He's not a burner, but he's not slow. Um but as far as the rookies go, I don't see like Matos is going to have to bulk up. He's going to have to get stronger,
Right.
and he needs to be able to improve in the running game, his defense. He needs to get better jumps on balls. But potential is there. But this is what the Giants need to do. They need to get the pitching in line and get some speed and defense. And if you're going to go after Ohtani, you better have other guys signed in place
Oh, it
because
has to be.
he's not coming to the Giants with the Giants in the position they're in right now.
Exactly. I mean, look at the Angels. They got, granted, some of these guys are, kind of past their prime, but Trout still effective. Rodon's been kind of a mess. But the Angels have a better lineup than the Giants. Why would he want to leave the Angels to come to a worse team at this point?
Yeah. I mean, if I can't get the kid from Korea as a center fielder, I may look at if I can get Yamamoto. That's my key. Okay. He's the key to my offseason, and I'll tell you why. Because now you've got two aces in him and Webb.
True.
Now I can maybe play around and trade Kyle Harrison if I want to, and maybe I can bring in a high level guy. Maybe I can get Mike Trout for Kyle Harrison and another prospect, and not have to spend a ton of money because the Angels will be willing to kick in and pay a pretty good portion of Trout's remaining salary. That's a possibility. I'd like to keep Harrison, but sometimes you got to give up something to get something. And if he's the guy they want, I wouldn't give up him and Wisenhunt.
Right.
But if they want one or the other and Trout's involved, maybe you do that. Maybe you get 3-4 good years out of Trout. I don't think you get much more than that. I don't know what he's got left. If he's got 8-10 years left, I'm not sure what that contract looks like. I gotta look that up. But I'm not riding the rest. I don't think Trout is going to give you much more than a few good years. Right-handed power is not bad in Oracle Park. You can hit the ball out. It's the lefties that get killed because of the triples alley. If you got a dead pull hitter, which there aren't many of those, not that hard to hit a home run as a lefty down that right field line. It's only 309. But as that jets out there to 415, just kind of balls go there to die.
Yep.
So
now here's a question, Dan. It sounds great, but what moves do you think Farhan's actually going to do?
He made a big move today, and he got Chad Pinder's younger brother, who's going to be 28 in March and has never made it past AAA. I think he made it to AAA last year. So I'm looking for big things from that one. Yeah, no, I mean, this is the kind of signings that myself and the majority of longtime Giants fans are sick and tired of. You know, who's the other guy they got in the deal for AJ Pollock? He already got sent down.
Mathis.
Yeah, Mathis. How many
He's already
guys like
gone.
that do we have? What about the guy before that, the year before, the guy from Seattle? He played Walton or whatever. Donovan Walton.
Donovan Walton.
Okay,
Yep.
they all fit the same mold. Every one of them. They are all like little punch and Judy hitters that don't hit for high average. They're decent utility people that can play multiple positions, and they're jack of all trades, master of none. They do a few good things and nothing really good, nothing superior. And that's all he does is trade on these margins of guys like this. I mean, I don't even have the list. They'd have to go in front of me, but it's, it's the Connors, Joes, it's the Michael Reeds, it's the Michael Papirskis, it's the Donovan or Dixon Machado. It's
exactly.
And then the guys he actually has gotten.
Brett Wisely.
Yeah, Brett Wisely's another one. Nice kid, nice ball player, but not going to be an all-star. All these little guys that just, fit into this analytical, box that Farhan has built that, on the margins, this guy may be able to give us this and this and this. No, just go get guys that play 145 games a year. Okay. Give me 6 guys that play 145 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't take them in and out of the lineup based on who's pitching. You don't pinch hit for them who's pitching. You just let them play. Okay. Like when we watch the playoffs, there's pinch hitting and there's situational baseball and there's analytics involved, and all of that is part of the game. But let me read something to you here. In fact, this is compliments of MF. Let me see. If I send this to you, can you put this up on the screen somehow?
If you could email me, it, that'd be much better.
All right. I took a snapshot of it, and I'm going to email it to you right now. And come on, get out of the way. All right. So it's coming your way eventually.
All righty.
Here we go.
Just give it a minute or so.
Invalid recipient. Come on. Why am I having problems with this? There we go. All right, sending. It didn't even have a subject, but pull that up, and we're gonna contrast what it looks like to actually manage a game with your head and your eyes versus the analytical machines.
All right.
So anyway, so this is
cool.
This is what I want to see them do. I want to see them get 6 guys that can play me 140 to 145 games a year. And no, I don't want Michael Conforto and Mitch Haniger in the outfield because they're not great defensively and they're injury prone. Give me younger guys. All right, here we go. So this was, I'm not sure where MF found this today, but this is what it says. Now, contrast this. Listen to this between Diamondbacks manager Torey Lovullo and Hall of Fame manager Bruce Bochy. During games, Lovullo said his eyes ping-pong from the game action to the data sheets in front of him, back and forth as he cross-references what's in front of him with the statistics that sometimes serve as a backbone of forthcoming decisions. Lovullo feels comfortable with this frantic pace, but he has glanced over at Bochy and sees someone very good at his job doing it very differently. Bochy often sits with his arms folded, appearing relaxed, like a parent taking in a t-ball game, seemingly never taking his eyes off the players on the field and what they're doing. can't multitask, Bochy said. I've got to just watch the game.
Well, there you go.
Okay,
Sometimes
guys.
that's all it takes, right?
Here's what you do. You don't have to, you know how you manage? You manage before the game. You prepare and you know what situations come up, who's good at facing so and so, and just knowing, hey, like, oh, this stands out big time. This guy's 6 for 8 lifetime with 2 home runs. If this matchup comes up, I'm going to go to that. So it's really pretty obvious what good, solid managers do. They know the facts before the game, and then they watch the game unfold.
If you're it's on the same wavelength here, is you never see Bochy even within a paper in his hand, ever. Yeah. You never see him. You see all these managers, they got these big old long, whatever the hell information they got on it. But Bochy just sits there. He just has it all in his. And I think Posey even said that when Posey was playing for him, everything's in his head. He prepares before and he knows what to do. He as you said, he watches the game and he knows what to do.
It's pretty simple. You watch the game, you see what's going on, you study people, you just know who your people are, you know who can hit in difficult situations.
In other words, you know your team.
Yeah, you know your team. You and sometimes it's just a gut instinct, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Baseball's a game of failure. 70% failure rate at the plate gets you in the Hall of Fame. If you're successful 30% of the time, you're going to find yourself, with a nice mole, in Cooperstown. You're going to be immortalized.
Yep.
So it's a game of failure, but the Giants and Farhan and their Farhan analytics, they take it to the extreme where, it's like, oh, well, if this guy hits the ball off this type of pitching from this arm angle, he hits 392. And from this arm angle, he's only at 250. And we're facing a guy with this arm angle. Never faced this guy, but this guy's arm angle is this slot that he throws out of. Our guy sees it well. Let's bring him up for the weekend because he's.
But you know what's funny? Sacramento. You know what they never take in consideration is said hitter on a hot streak, or is he cold? Because that makes the difference in the world. Because you even though it's a different quote unquote arm slot, if the guy is seeing the ball, he may do some damage because he's on that. You know how baseball is.
Exactly. If you've talked to players and you play the game, it works this way. When you're hot, you can't wait to get to the plate, and you feel like you can hit off anybody.
Right.
And when you're cold, you don't want to go up because you're like, dang it, man, I just got to get out of this. I can't get out of this funk. And it's like, you don't even want to face a high school pitcher if you're in the major leagues because you're such in a mess. So what do the Giants do? Last year on a road trip, Wilmer Flores hit 4 home runs against it
was Cincinnati, right?
Cincinnati Reds.
They went to Washington.
They went to Washington and they faced a right-handed pitcher and they sat him the first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly. Of course, we were all over that. And then, strangely, Wilmer Flores stopped getting benched.
Yep.
It was like, hey, Gabe. But does any of the beat writers for the Giants bring any of this stuff up? No. They just, all his beat writers seem to do is report information. They don't editorialize at all.
No.
And so they constantly get this, hey, Gabe, why did you pitch to that particular batter during that? Oh, okay. And they write it down and then they report it. They don't question him. And Fortunately, the Giants got a regular dude, a great, not only a great manager in Bob Melvin, but they got a really strong character, nice guy who knows how to communicate.
Exactly, a communicator.
He's a really good communicator. One of the things I've heard about Bob, and we hope to have Bob on the show. He's been invited onto the show. We have a connection directly to Bob Melvin, and we're hoping to get him on sometime this offseason. But Bob Melvin is a class guy. His office is always open. And that's to anybody within the organization.
And he's not going to be MIA in the clubhouse.
No, he's not going to be MIA in the clubhouse at all. He's going to have a heartbeat on exactly what's going on in the clubhouse, and the Giants will be much better off. I'll say this: Farhan definitely made a much better decision in this area. He learned from his mistake. Kapler was a risk from day one.
Day one.
Day one, he was a risk. Everybody was like, why are you doing this?
Exactly. He failed in Philadelphia, was fired. Prior to that, he had this, the allegations of being part of a cover-up with the minor league players in the Dodgers organization. So, I mean, he had baggage. So why Farhan? Well, we all know why Farhan went to him, but that was a horrible choice.
It was a horrible choice. And hopefully, he's shown that he's learned from his mistake in hiring a qualified manager who's good with the clubhouse, good with the press, treats people with dignity, not going to talk down to you like Kapler did. And he's not going to, the clubhouse is not going to be all uptight. And, everybody around Kapler had to freeze and act like, was just a very, I don't know, just difficult. So, and I'm not saying Gabe's not a bad guy. He's not a bad person. He's a good human being. He's different. I don't care for his differences as far as just the way he ran things. But I'm sure a lot of the players did probably like him in many ways. He just wasn't a great communicator. It didn't seem like as a team. He was a one-on-one guy. And anyway, so I think the Giants. So Farhan learned from that. Now let's hope he can learn from his mistakes, how he's handled meetings. You see the teams that are the most aggressive. Who's the most aggressive GMs out there?
Oh yeah, I mean,
okay.
AJ Preller.
AJ Preller's one. You got Dave Dombrowski with the Phillies.
Chris Young with the Texas Rangers.
Chris Young with the Rangers. Jerry DePito with Seattle.
Andrew Friedman.
Friedman. The Braves and the
AA. I just call him AA. Yeah.
AA. All right. Let's look at the playoff. The Houston's always pretty aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the playoffs. What did all the hey? Let's give the credit to Dan Hazen at Arizona.
Oh yeah,
he was aggressive.
He was aggressive.
So all these guys that were aggressive made the playoffs for the most part.
Yes, they did.
Phillies, Padres didn't, but they made a run at the end, surpassed the Giants.
Dodgers,
Astros.
Yep. Texas.
Diamondbacks, Texas. Milwaukee made some moves. So these guys are making moves, and they make them early. They don't sit back and wait. They don't wait. They
set the tone.
They set the tone, yes. So that's what needs to be done. So hopefully Farhan can learn from this and just go out and be aggressive. Don't sit back. You sit back and wait and wait and wait. Just go set the market. Do you end up having to pay a little bit more? Yeah, you do.
You know what? Maybe he just needs to hire a professional negotiator. Maybe that's his, and then he could be the one that decides, okay, yeah. But I don't think I don't know if you can learn that.
Yeah, it's
No.
it's a skill, and I don't,
Right.
it's a skill of learning how to deal with people, and when I first started out in sales, I it's hard to learn to read certain situations, but you learn from it, you grow. He's now going into year 6 as the head guy. He was never the head guy at LA. He was never the head guy with the A's. He never had to make these decisions.
No.
No, he couldn't make the decisions. So now that he's in charge, he's just doing too much with everything, and he needs to just focus on going out, setting the market. Because if you don't set the market, it'll set it for you.
Yes, it will. Yep.
As it did last
Exactly.
year.
Yep.
You know?
And you want to be, Farhan's obviously good with numbers. If you want to look at numbers, let's look at the last 5 years. How many times did the Giants break 500 in his 5 years?
Once.
You want to talk about number? That is not doing a good job. And here we are in the beginning of the we're in between the 2023-2024 season. And what is the roster consisted of? The same guys that we had in 2021, 2022 without the good players. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, there's no more Posey. There's going to be no more Crawford. There's no more Belt. There's no more Darren Ruff that was part of that.
No more Longoria.
Chris Bryant.
No more Gosman. You had him a couple of years.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
the 2021 season was magical. Everything went right, but you had Buster, and then you had Crawford and Belt have career years.
Yeah.
And then Darren Ruff had a huge year, and Lamont Wade Jr. had, remarkable things going on in late innings, and everything was magical.